Here are a few extra thoughts about the differences between Therevada and Mahayana Vajrayana Buddhism. I've divided it into a few themes, so I hope that I can just include a few thoughts basically that never got into the original video. So the first one is Pure Lands. Now this is very popular and famous even in Mahayana Buddhism and Vajrayana, where one enters into a Buddha land, like Amitabha's Sukhavati is very famous. The idea is to train in the Buddha land for complete enlightenment, and one can do that without any distractions. It's different in Therevada and Vajrayana Buddhism. In Therevada Buddhism, entry into a pure land really depends on merit and karma and achievement. So people who have achieved first level of enlightenment, Sotapannas, Sadagami, second stage of enlightenment, Anagami, third level of enlightenment, these people are likely to be born in pure lands because they've already reached a high level of achievement, and they can be born in a pure land where they can study to complete the enlightenment without any distractions, and they deserve it because they're already on the path to enlightenment. It's not a question of knowing that you're going there, it's just very likely if you've reached a high level of achievement. They say that the Sotapanna will just be born in the conditioned realms 7 more times, and an Anagami only one more time, but any of them can be born in a pure land multiple times. And the idea then is to finish off the enlightenment process, so there is no need for a rebirth in the conditioned realms. That's Theravada Buddhism. In Vajrayana Buddhism, it's rather different. There is the idea that perhaps anybody could reach a pure land by concentrating and practicing in a particular way at the time of death. So, especially in Mahayana Buddhism, there is the idea of just keeping the mind pure and peaceful at the time of death, and one may be able to enter into Amitabha's Pure Land. In Vajrayana it's a little bit different. It's quite an advanced practice in Vajrayana, and it's a completion stage practice. You need to really be at quite a high level to perform what is called pawa, which is a sequence of practices, techniques, which if carried out successfully, usually with the help of a guru, will be able to transfer you to a pure land. So that's quite a major difference really. In terms of Theravada, it's just based on merit, it's a kind of automatic thing, but in Mahayana and Vajrayana it's much more about practicing in a particular way at the time of death. Another topic is rebirth. Theravada and Mahayana Vajrayana are different here. Once again, for Theravada, rebirth is a pretty automatic process really. If one has a lot of good karma, one might be born in the God realms, or if one is practiced and achieved the first levels of enlightenment, one might be born in a pure land. If one has terrible karma, one might be born in hell. It's pretty automatic and straightforward. However, in Vajrayana and Mahayana, but particularly Vajrayana, it's anything but anything but simple. It's complex. First of all, when one dies, there is a whole in-between realm, in between one dying and the next birth. This realm is called the Bardo, and it's seen as a place where enlightenment can be achieved. So many practitioners are taught techniques to employ at the time of death in order to achieve enlightenment. So it will not be necessary to be born again in the conditioned realms. There's also the point that in Vajrayana Buddhism, it's believed that great teachers from the past, great masters from the past, when they are reincarnated, can be recognized. So the Dalai Lama, when he dies, the qualified ones, they go around and they seek his reincarnation by asking questions that they think only the old Dalai Lama could know the answer to. And there are also other great teachers called tulkus who are reborn and reincarnated, and these are recognized by the Buddhist authorities too. So there is the belief that a Buddhist committee, if you like, can go out and find the reincarnation of a teacher who has recently died. Theravada doesn't have any of that, so just you die and you are reborn, and the rebirth will take place on the basis of your merit. So that's a major difference between the two. Duality and non-duality. Well, you can't say that Theravada believes in duality, but Vajrayana definitely believes in non-duality, similar to Advaita Vedanta. And there is the idea that finally samsara and nirvana is the same, and everything in between. The way you perceive it depends on your karma. So in the animal realm, all the animals create their world. The karma of their world creates their realm. Human realm, all the people with a similar karma create that world. Similar with the gods, and right up to nirvana. If the enlightened ones see how reality really is, it's a question of emptiness and clear light, and that's what has always been there from the beginning. But creatures at a lower level can't see it. They see their own realm. The hungry ghosts, the pretas, they see their own realm. The humans see their own realm. The karma has created that realm for them. It's only the enlightened ones that see reality as it really is, but basically it is the same. So samsara and nirvana is the same. This is completely different for the Theravada people. Samsara can never be the same as nibbana. So there is no reconciling the two on this. It's just a major difference. This leads on to the point of enlightenment then. So what is enlightenment? Perhaps it seemed rather differently in Therevada and Vajrayana. In Theravada, not a lot is said about what happens to Buddhas and Arahants after they achieve enlightenment, but probably there is a suggestion that it's just basically an escape from the cycle of suffering, birth and rebirth, birth, death and rebirth. One can be in peace. Although there is also suggestions from Hinduism that perhaps there is some kind of survival, but on the other hand, the texts don't talk, and the teachings don't talk about it, so just silence, really. Vajrayana, on the other hand, emphasizes that the highest reality is emptiness, and frequently Buddhas, enlightened ones, can travel between the various realms, the Dharmakaya, where they're at home, and can come to give teachings to humans in the Nirmanakaya. There is definitely the idea that the clear light, emptiness, the place where they exist, actually has form, actually has shape. They actually have a life there of some kind. They exist. They see things as they really are, so they exist in terms of the truth, in terms of true reality. So there is continuation, perhaps similar to the idea of the Atman in Advaita Vedanta, although the Vajrayana Buddhists would formally deny that and say that they do not believe in an Atman. So there is this difference between duality and non-duality in Therevada and Vajrayana Buddhism. And that leads on to these differences in the view of enlightenment. The moral precepts are much more emphasized in Theravada Buddhism than in Vajrayana. It's not that they think that it's okay to do bad things in Vajrayana, but you won't keep hearing people talking about the 5 precepts in Vajrayana. There is a sense in which perhaps they feel they've gone beyond that, but I think it also depends to some extent on this idea of non-duality. So they believe that finally samsara and nirvana is the same thing. So if you can develop a skillful means, you can do something which even might seem to be bad, and as long as you do it mindfully, it might help you towards enlightenment. So for example, maybe one could drink a beer mindfully, and because finally samsara and nirvana is the same thing anyway, if you can appreciate that while you're drinking the beer, then it might actually be a skillful means towards enlightenment. Probably this is often abused, and people who are at quite a low level of achievement will just use that as an excuse to do whatever they want. That's an obvious point to be made. Another thing where the two differ is in their view of the Buddha. The Theravada tradition sees the Buddha as a great teacher, and it's recorded all his teachings in the Dhammapada. There's a lot of magic in the Dhammapada, and a lot of strange happenings, and the Buddha going to teach beings in other realms and things like this. But it's still basically the story of the historical Buddha giving teachings. The Vajrayana believes that everybody has what they call a Buddha nature, based on the third turning of the wheel of Dharma. So everybody can be a Buddha, basically. This is not true in Theravada Buddhism. Buddhas arise sporadically and teach the Dharma and can lead people to enlightenment. But not everybody who is enlightened or can become a Buddha. So this is different. Vajrayana believes that everybody has a Buddha nature, and finally everyone can become a Buddha. Maybe the Buddha nature is similar to the Atman, the Hindu Atman in the end. It's a kind of linguistic quibble. They don't talk about Atman, they talk about the Buddha nature. So there are many Buddhas in the Vajrayana, and everybody can be a Buddha. So there's Vajrasattva Buddha, and there's Samantabhadra Buddha, and you often Kalachakra Buddha, you often don't hear a lot about the original Buddha, Gautama Siddhartha. So because of the idea of the Buddha nature, so many people, so many beings have achieved Buddhahood, and they're all there waiting in Pure Lands and the Dharmakaya to help people. So it's there's that difference. In Theravada Buddhism, Buddhas are very rare and arise very, very infrequently to give the teachings, but in Vajrayana Buddhism, so many beings have already become Buddhas, and you can really ask for the aid of any of them. That's a big difference. Another difference is the guru or the teacher. Especially in Vajrayana Buddhism, there is great emphasis on secrecy, really, and needing to have the permission of the guru to do almost everything. In Theravada Buddhism, there is definitely an emphasis on teaching and the teacher, but there's not the same secrecy involved. A teacher is a teacher, not necessarily a guru. You go to the teacher to learn more about the practice, and then you have to develop yourself. Not the same secrecy, not the same need to get permission all the time in order to practice. So this is also a major difference. I suppose the final